Hello, it is Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio, and we are about to get started here. Morgan, I see you down there. Let me know if you're ready to go. Do we have the doc and everything?
I've got the doc. It's many pages. I'm excited.
Well, I don't think it's 21 pages, so that is a fair amount.
It's just a short 21 pages to this doc.
This is because I stopped putting the images in the doc. I think that's what used to take up so much of the space. But now that we have the live stream, I just pull it up on the live stream for people to see.
So now they're basically like one pagers.
Yeah, it is shortened the doc to not have the images in there. Okay, so we are about to get started to talking about the second half of our soap opera Secret Heart series in the Superman family issues. So I guess we'll just go ahead and get into it. We've got some news, we've got feedback, it's a loaded show, so hang in there with us and we'll get started.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because her outfit,
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series and the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And we are live and wired on the DCTV podcast YouTube channel and the Supergirl Radio Facebook page to continue a 3-part series on that time and issues of the Superman family comics when Linda Danvers, a.k.a. Supergirl, was an actress on a soap opera titled Secret Hearts. It's all very exciting. Lots of secrets this time around, for sure. So many secrets in this second part of our series. But before we get into what those secrets are, we need to get to
the news.
According to the Hollywood Reporter, Anna Nogara.
I think that's right. Noguera, maybe?
Noguera? Okay.
Noguera. Yeah, I saw several different. I tried to look up the pronunciation. I think it's Anna Noguera is my best guess.
Okay. Anna Nogara The actress and playwright who is now making forays into screenwriting has been tapped to pen Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, a standalone feature centered on the Kryptonian cousin of Superman being developed by DC Studios. No director is attached, and Nogara's deal only recently closed. The project is actually a redo for Nogara. The writer was quietly hired to pen a Supergirl movie in 2022 when Warner Brothers was developing the project as a spinoff of The Flash. Then in post-production, Flash featured Sasha Kaje.
Kajay.
I
forgot to put the pronunciation in there.
I was so close. As the heroine, and the hope was to launch another DC film franchise. Those hopes were seemingly dashed when Gunn and Safran were brought in to oversee a reorganized DC arm. That project was tossed as the new executives focused on creating a brand new slate separate from former DC Films boss Walter Hamada's vision. Early this year, Supergirl was revealed to be part of that slate as a project without any connection to the Flash movie. Rather, it was now connected in title and story to a comic book a miniseries written by Tom King that was published in 2021 and 2022 and sought to redefine the character as something more than just a girl version of Superman. Excuse me, article.
Yeah, I had issues with that too. I'm actually glad you said something because
she's so much more. She's a soap opera actress, even.
A star soap opera actress, as we'll discover in this
do it all.
part. I don't remember Tom King telling us that he was doing this to differentiate Supergirl from Superman. I thought he said that he just wanted Supergirl, like his legacy that he wanted to leave on this series was that he wanted Supergirl comics to always be selling. He always wanted
that,
that Supergirl would always be in demand as a comic book. So I don't know where they're getting this idea that that Tom King wrote it as a way. What does it say to redefine the character as something more than just a girl version of Superman? I don't remember. Maybe Tom King said that in an interview somewhere that I haven't read or seen. But I thought that was weird. Offensive.
Offensive. How dare you? The article goes on to say the comic featured Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl, who, along with Superdog Crypto, gets caught up in a young alien girl's galaxy-spanning revenge quest. DC Studios is keeping the project's plot under wraps. Gunn and Safran liked the work of Nogara, maybe? Nogara. Gunn and Safran liked the work Nogara had done on the previous Supergirl project and quietly brought her back, even giving her an overall DC writing deal. Nogara may be best known for a stint on the CW's The Vampire Diaries, with acting credits including The Michael J. Fox Show and The Blacklist. But she has also built a thriving writing career. Her play, Which Way to the Stage, debuted off-Broadway in 2022, and she's working on an adaptation of author Alice Sola Kim's short story, Mothers Lock Up Your Daughters, set up at Warner's with 21 Lamps producing.
So I was surprised by this news today. I wasn't expecting any Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow news. So that was
me neither.
A nice surprise. And
you can tell the strikes are wrapping up because suddenly stuff is happening.
Things are moving forward. I guess that's probably why they didn't announce it earlier, because of the writer strike. That actually makes sense. I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah, I'm glad to see that things are moving forward with it. It seems like they're still planning on it. I assume we'll still get like a 2025, maybe 2026 release date if we get it at all.
Right around the corner. Don't you worry. I saw James Gunn tweet out something the other day because the actor strike is pretty much wrapping up too, and it was about the Superman movie, and that will be coming out sometime in 2025, which makes me go, Supergirl's gonna be like 2026, I think.
Also, is he gonna shoot and cut together a Superman movie in a year?
Maybe.
That's ambitious.
It is. It feels like too fast.
I mean, maybe he's got it on lock. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's gonna make it look great in a year.
Andy comments in the chat that it's slated for July 11th, 2025, with the production starting this upcoming March 2024.
I guess that's a year and some months.
Yeah, it's like a year and a half, I guess. It's like 18 months, I guess.
Yeah, totally 18. I don't know. I feel like it should probably take a little longer than that, but maybe he knows what he's doing. He's got a way to get it done faster.
What if it was like our take on Superman has no special effects? Think about it. No, really, think about it.
No flights, no tights for the big screen.
I just imagine him like, okay, this is gonna sound crazy. It's all in one room.
It's gonna be like Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, and there's gonna be no cuts. We're just gonna shoot it all in one take.
You know, when you think Superman and you think 12 Angry Men, and they don't seem like the same thing, but they could be.
A bold new take from James Gunn.
New take.
Well, so I guess Morgan, I'm interested in your thoughts on this because my first impression of this news article was, oh no, a playwright is handling this. It makes me nervous. I'm sure this young lady is wonderful. She must be a great writer. She seems to have some accolades behind her. But in my experience, when I've seen films that were written by playwrights, you can feel it. The most notable example that I can think of is Steven Spielberg's Lincoln film, which won all these awards and blah, blah, blah. I thought it was terrible. And the reason why I thought it was terrible was because it felt like a play. A lot of the scenes felt like it was written for the stage. And sometimes when playwrights do screenwriting, it can feel like that because it is a different animal. It's like the difference between, you've written comic books. So you're a comic book writer.
I've written that one.
but there's a different skill set. There's a different method of handling different kinds of writing. Poetry is different from prose. Prose is different from news writing. News writing is different from TV writing. TV writing is a little bit different from film writing. So there's different approaches to that. And my concern is because Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow as a comic book is so visual. It's such a beautiful visual comic that I hope it's not just scenes of characters talking to each other like you would in a play. Because a play, you're only when you're doing a playwriting, you're basically, and I'm not speaking as a playwright because I don't know, I've never written a play, but I imagine that when you sit down to write a script or a story for the stage, you're not worried so much about the visuals because the set's already done. The costumes have already been picked out. All that stuff is already done. You're just worried about the dialogue and where people are moving around on the stage. That's all you're worried about. But for a film, you have to think a little bit bigger and a little larger and a little more visual. So I have my concerns about this, but I'm hoping that she will do a great job. I think some of the work has already kind of been done for her. The story already exists.
Yeah.
She can go reference the two True Grit movies that have been made that inspired the story.
Exactly.
So I think there are ways that she can do it, even though she doesn't have really any screenwriting credits to her name.
No,
if you look on her if you look on her IMDb, there are no screenwriting credits except for this and some other little short film to her name. So that's a little concerning for a big budget movie and for this big Supergirl movie too. So I just, it makes me a little nervous, but I'm curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, I am like of two minds about it. One is that I'm also nervous because just like you said, writing for the stage is much different than writing for the screen. But on the plus side, whatever she was doing as a treatment for the Supergirl movie that was going to spin out from the Flash, maybe where she didn't get killed a lot, they seem to have liked the direction that she was going in, especially since she had kind of been brought on. She didn't have a lot of experience. So you would think that if they weren't liking sort of her take on the character, that would have been a perfect time to be like, all right, let's go in a different direction. Let's find somebody new. But presumably they liked the work that she had done on the Supergirl, movie that never will be.
I wish we could see that script.
Me too. Enough for them to be like, all right, let's let's let her have a shot at this other project. So on the one hand, it seems comforting that they liked it enough to keep her around. On the other hand, I am really concerned that she hasn't written a feature film before. And as I think all of us know who have watched a bunch of these superhero movies, they can be kind of a tough one, especially as like studios get involved. It's IP, so people like the studios and the DC can get kind of precious about things. So hopefully she can just go ahead and do a good job and like get in there with the story that we already have from the Tom King run. So I mean, obviously we liked the Tom King run a lot. So the story, I think if they use it, is pretty solid.
Don't say that. Don't even put it out there that they can change things.
Could you
my gosh,
imagine
don't change things.
If it's like how, on Supergirl, they would have like a character and it'd be like, I mean, kind of
like Rain or
I can kind of
the World Killers.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, she kind of has like that weapon, I guess, but she doesn't look anything
I
like
guess
her.
if I'm being real, she has like a similar vibe, but I mean, in no other way is it similar.
It's weird because Sai never talked in nursery rhymes in the comics, but here she is on Supergirl, the TV show, doing it.
A new take on the character. So yeah, I'm interested to see what they come up with. I'm like hoping for the best. Already, like they have, I think, good material that they're working from. So I'm comforted in that regard, where it's like, as long if they follow the comic, or if they use the comic as their inspiration and pull from it, then we liked that. So that seems like a step in the right direction already.
People like this comic book. It's in my opinion, and I think we probably both agree. It's one of the best, definitely Supergirl comics ever put together. But I would say it's one of the best comic book series of all time.
Of all time, even.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously some of that was the artwork, which like every single piece of art in that comic you could just like frame it and put it on your wall. And so that's going to be a little bit different. But I would love it actually if the movie pulled some of that visual style from the comic, because I think that could be so unique to add in.
So this is what could help Anna Noguera. She can kind of do her pass on the script, and then whoever they get for the director, oh my gosh, they have to pick somebody good. They have got, if they're going to have this first time screenwriter write the screenplay, they need to have an expert filmmaker has been doing it a long, like I have high expectations for this. You got to nail the visuals. You got to nail the Western feel. You got to nail the casting and the relationship between Kara and Ruthie. You've got to nail this stuff. So,
and on a more personal level, if I don't listen, guys, if I don't see that horse,
getting close.
If I don't see that horse in this movie, I am going to flip out. Comment better be in it.
If they're like, that flying horse is a little silly. We don't need that in here. I'm gonna lose
the flying horse. I'll be like, excuse me, the people are me. It's like I jump through like into the Warner Brothers studios.
They're like, what if the horse didn't turn into a man? What if it was just a horse? Even then, I would still get.
I just scream sacrilege as I dive in.
Venkata in the chat says, "Do you think Greta Gerwig would direct Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow?" I hope not. I thoroughly disliked Barbie. While the aesthetics were great, the storytelling was garbage, in my opinion. I know a lot of people like the Barbie movie. I was not impressed. I know Greta Gerwig, though, does have some titles under her belt. So she does have some experience being a director on a big film, especially for Warner Brothers. So I could see them picking her. But oh my gosh, even when I think about the Barbie movie, it makes me kind of sick to my stomach a little bit. So like it makes me physically ill to think about the Barbie movie.
It's so funny. I'm on the other side in that I loved the Barbie movie. I went as Barbie for Halloween. I was like, "Hi Barbie" to everybody.
See, I like the world of that. I love that. At Dragon Con, they were all the cosplayers were hi Barbie. That I think that's great. The film though, the screenplay, the writing, the dialogue, it was awful. I couldn't stomach it. But I do like the aesthetics of it and the world that she built. So I think that there were some positives to it.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them maybe going with her again because she just opened a huge movie for them, and it was female focused, and the aesthetics, I think she does a really good job with it. Like the Barbie world is very bright and it's very like happy and it's very, it really does read as like Barbie, like a childhood Barbie. So I could see her being able to maybe like do the visual aspects of it, absolutely, where it's more a little bit more painterly and like pretty. I think that she does really well with aesthetics. I mean, at least she did in Barbie, and Lady Bird was also great. So
I have not seen Lady Bird, so I cannot comment on that. Although I've heard good things.
Lady Bird hit me a little bit too close to home because it's like it takes place in the early 2000s and she's going to a Catholic school, and I was like, oh God, my life.
I agree. I think Greta Gerwig would do a good job visually. I just have a fear that she would have Ruthie rant about the patriarchy every 5 minutes. And that I would not care for. I want somebody to report back to me. Go through Barbie and count how many times they say the word patriarchy and report back to me. I would like to know.
I mean, I think Ruthie can get one patriarchy rant in there.
She gets one and that's
multiple. Maybe not multiple.
I mean, a man did kill her father. So
a man did kill her father. So. How dare they?
So, spoiler alert, I guess, for people who have not.
I have to say, for some reason I forgot that Greta Gerwig also did Little Women, which was also very good.
Were they ranting about the patriarchy in Little Women?
I mean, a little bit.
There must have been,
but to be fair, there was a fair amount of that in the book too.
Well, true.
So they were like, "Why can't I do things?" And they're like, "'Cause you're just a little woman." I was like, all right.
Greta Gerwig is apparently tackling C.S. Lewis's I don't know if it's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe or like the Narnia Chronicles, and I'm like,
oh
no, why? No, God, why? No. Don't touch C.S. Lewis. Get Greta Gerwig away from C.S. Lewis, please.
I think they'll be pretty though.
They'll be really pretty. But please get her away from C.S. Lewis. Shut that down. So all that to say, I'm a little nervous about the screenwriting aspect, but if you put a director in there, God forbid it be Greta Gerwig, she would at least be able to, in my opinion anyway, I can't speak for Morgan, but I think somebody like that who has experience with these kind of big movies with the visuals and all that could lift the material a little bit. So I'm willing to give Ana Nogueira a shot. I think if people think highly of her, maybe this will give her the hunger to make it really good. Maybe, being given this opportunity will drive her to make the script the best that it actually possibly could be.
I see that I'm not alone in Lady Bird hitting too close to home. Aaron says, same here with Lady Bird. I went to Catholic school in early 2000s and my mom was a nurse as well. Oh, so like Lady Bird was like really personal for you.
I will definitely have to watch Lady Bird. Maybe Lady Bird will change my perspective on Greta Gerwig.
It's a fun movie. Yeah, it really took me back. I was like, oh yeah, we did all wear our uniforms like that.
She does rant about the patriarchy in that one. That's it. I'm done with Greta Gerwig. Andy asked a question in the chat. If you guys could pick your ideal cinematographer, director of photography, who would you want that could bring those comic books to life? People probably don't want me to answer that question because it's gonna be Zack Snyder. He's in my opinion, he's the only one who can handle the Western aspect of it, the CGI aspect of it, the visuals, the colors, all of that stuff. He would knock that out of the park, and I just hate that they won't let him anywhere near DC stuff anymore. He also does Snyder does a lot of female-led films, so I think that would be great. DP wise, cinematographer though, I'd have to really think about that. I have a director in mind, but DP would be a little more. Do we have a guest?
Did you have some thoughts and feelings about it, Bunsen? What director would you choose, Bunsen? Oh, he's not quite sure. He says, I'd have to watch a little bit more cinema. I'd have to really get in touch watch a couple westerns, see who's done a good western recently.
I thought I heard that he wanted to go through Greta Gerwig's filmography and really answer that question.
Bunsen said he loved Barbie. He has his own Mojo Dojo Casa house, and it's here. And
that would actually be great for the Lab Cats.
Bunsen's like, I too love horses, so he related to Ken's struggle to be seen, right, buddy?
Yeah. Andy also says, I feel optimistic since Tom is working on it as an architect of Superwoman of Tomorrow. I'm almost certain he will co-write it or at least do a story by it. Yeah, they'll give him some credit in terms of the Tom King aspect of the film. So I think we'll just have to be a wait and see mode, I guess. So hopefully we'll get some casting announcements soon. But we don't have a director yet. I assume the director will do the casting.
I would think that the director is probably like the next thing. So they have a writer now, and then eventually there'll be a director, and then we're gonna get casting, which will be really fun.
If we get a director that has no directing
what
credits?
If it's a brand new director too? What if it's a director and it's like she is so good at plays, and then the whole thing is just like in a black box theater?
That would be a real choice.
Supergirl yells out, "I am not my cousin." She's holding a skull for some reason.
Okay, so if they did a Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow on Broadway, I'd go see it.
I would absolutely go see it. That would be awesome. We're giving them all kinds of free ideas here tonight.
I mean, if you're going to really lean into the play aspect, I think we should do that.
What if the new DC Cinematic Universe is just like, what if they were all plays? We've got 12 Angry Men, Superman, Macbeth, Supergirl. It's gonna be great.
Ooh, Macbeth. Yes, I like that. That is the Scottish play. Is
the Scottish play? That's true. That's true.
Anyway, so please share your thoughts about the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow news. Please calm my fears because I have high expectations because I just want it to be great. So if Anna Noguera, if you're watching this and you need some information about Supergirl, if you need information about references, about things to check out, about stories to read, about information about Supergirl story, hit us up. We will help you learn all things Supergirl. So
we already have the research is the thing.
We have all the Google Docs.
Have you heard about the good word of Snapper Carr and his robot hands? It's not really applicable to what you're doing, but I wanted to share it. You
could put a surprise post-credit tease in there.
Oh, could you imagine if the post-credit teaser is just Snapper doing this? And then he's like, "Cool, Daddy-o," and then it just fades to black. Everyone's like, "I don't understand what that was about." And we'd be like, "We do.
We are the only two people."
What if they just make this movie just for us and like nobody else is into it?
Worth it.
We're your audience now, guys. Come on.
We would go see it a lot of times. So I think it's something to consider when evaluating your audience for these projects. Okay, well, we've talked about the movie news that we got today. So I think we should dig into soap opera mode and get back into learning about Linda Danvers and her time on the soap opera Secret Hearts in the early 1980s of DC Comics.
In the last episode of Supergirl Radio, a theater producer and former Hollywood agent overhears Linda Danvers fight with her boss, and her fire to stand up for herself earns her the acting gig to play the new shrew of soap opera, Margot Hatton. As Supergirl, Linda Danvers thwarts the sports scandals of Fred Fox and the explosive crimes of the Mind Bomber, who disintegrates before realizing his potential as a small screen storyteller. After Lena Thorell Colby learns about Supergirl's secret identity, Linda is starting to suspect that Greg Gilbert has a secret of his own. Confused? You won't be after this episode of Supergirl Radio.
Okay, well, let's get into Superman Family number 212. This is a story titled "Payment on Demand," and in the episode, in the issue, Supergirl just can't believe how much violence there is in New York City. She is so surprised by this for some reason. I guess coming into the big city,
their whole deal is like, this big city has lots of crime. I have to fix it. It's like, that's kind of superhero 101. Like, imagine if you just moved to like a sleepy small town. What are you gonna do? Just get cats out of trees? Be thankful for the crime, Supergirl.
Yeah, so Supergirl is blown away by how much violence there is in New York City. On her way back to the studio for an emergency taping session for Secret Hearts, which I don't think happens in soap operas, but
Doesn't feel like it.
we'll go with it. An emergency taping session for Secret Hearts. She runs into a brawl in the GBS lobby caused by, quote, some costumed weirdo, unquote, who calls himself BlackRock, who tried to bust in. BlackRock is a familiar name to Supergirl. She's heard cousin Superman mention fighting him. BlackRock wears a, quote, crazy getup, unquote, that includes a purple mask and cape, green top and gloves, which are decorated with what look like lightning bolts or just kind of jagged lines. And the lower half of his body is made up of cohesive black particles. BlackRock uses.
I really thought it was just like a bunch of pebbles.
they're supposed to be particles. Okay. So BlackRock uses a weapon called the Power Stone against innocent men in the GBS lobby. The stone's raw energy can assume any form that he wishes. To prevent Supergirl from thwarting his plans, BlackRock uses the Power Stone on Supergirl, imprisoning her in a cocoon that her super strength has trouble smashing through. So BlackRock, this villain, has come into or GBS is what they call it here. Sometimes they call it WGBS, but it's just GBS in this issue. And he is coming to try to get something. So while held back for a short time, Supergirl does break through the energy barrier that BlackRock has put her in. And as soon as she does, one of the studio guards shoots at BlackRock, and the gunshot passes right through him because his lower half is the particles. To complete his escape, BlackRock gave the guards selective amnesia, which is convenient, with his black energy preventing them from being able to remember what BlackRock looked like without his costume. So they must have seen him maybe without his costume for a little bit of a time, and then they conveniently cannot remember to tell people. So meanwhile, Supergirl is helping Lena move in next door to Linda Danvers. This was Lena's idea to be able to cover for Linda when she needs help protecting her secret. But she should be concerned, though, because Lena may be the one who needs the help.
Oh.
Yes, Lena has been experiencing some fleeting headaches. She hasn't been sleeping too well and has been working too hard covering up for her boss, Greg, who is the script writer for Secret Hearts. If you will remember in the previous part, right. Greg was sort of slacking, and Lena was trying to help him pump out those Secret Hearts scripts. So Lena is still covering up for Greg's mistakes.
Unbelievable.
I know,
Greg. Get it together.
Get it together. We'll figure out. We'll find out why Greg has been slacking. Supergirl wonders if she can help Lena by figuring out why Greg has been neglecting his responsibilities. So she is concerned about Lena and the headaches that she's having and wants to help. At the next morning's Secret Hearts read-through, Hal Kyle, who is the actor who plays Dr. Bridges on the show, is unhappy with Greg's dialogue and asks for a rewrite. While on a break to ease the mounting tension on set, Linda asks Greg if he wants to go out to dinner with her. She has noticed that Greg has been indifferent to her lately, despite initially hitting on her something fierce. He was really going after Linda. And now
he was. She had to go to every single sports in New York.
Went to a lot of sporting events. And now something is cooled with Greg. She's more relieved than insulted, though, but still wants to know why Greg isn't acting like himself. Instead of going out to eat, Greg takes Linda back to his apartment. Through his inner dialogue, Greg lets us know that he hasn't got a dime. He's tapped out.
Uh-oh.
Maybe Linda will join him for a TV dinner from his freezer.
Greg, you can do a little better than that. Let's be honest.
Not a great date. Linda's going to be a little disappointed.
I love the idea of like Greg being like, hey, come back to my place. And then he's like, pizza roll?
real
Bagel, Linda. You can have pizza anytime.
Linda's a big star. She can get delivery pizza even.
I know.
Suddenly, a man hiding in Greg's apartment comes out of the shadows and punches Greg. Supergirl, of course, would step in and stop this, but since she is Linda Danvers in this situation, she needs to roll with what is happening to keep her secret identity intact. The man attacking Greg is doing so on behalf of a man named Sal, who is a mobster and runs an illegal gaming parlor in the village.
Uh-oh.
Now we probably can surmise why Greg doesn't have a dime.
Greg, what are you up to?
Due to bad luck in a high-stakes poker game, Greg owes Sal $30,000 and hasn't paid him yet.
And this is what year?
This is 1981.
My
I don't know.
My favorite thing is the inflation calculator.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to find out because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of 80s money.
That's a lot of money now.
That's a lot of money now, but it was sure a lot of money. Oh my God. That was $100,000 in 1981.
Greg was real bad at poker.
Greg, you gotta know when to hold them, but you also gotta know when to fold them.
He was not folding them, apparently. So Greg eventually gets the upper hand with this guy who's come into his apartment during this encounter, and while throwing a punch at the intruder, Linda does help him out. She secretly assists Greg by using her super breath to help Greg pack a powerhouse punch. And after the henchman runs away, Linda and Greg talk about how his gambling addiction is causing problems at work. It's affecting his secret heart's screenwriting work ethic that he cannot get those scripts out. So Linda suggests that he visit a psychiatric clinic, but Greg pushes the idea aside so that he can figure out how to pay Sal. He's got to
like not have Gamblers Anonymous or any of those programs back in the 80s.
It doesn't sound like it. I don't know what the psychiatric clinic.
Yeah,
I guess that would just be like a shrink
therapist.
Yeah,
I mean, like unpack why you feel like you need to keep gambling, Greg, but stop spending money.
Stop losing at poker. If you're not good at poker, just don't play.
You can just not play.
That would also solve the problem. Okay, so that's a good question, though. The villain of this story, BlackRock, has been witnessing this whole scene with the intruder into Greg's apartment outside of Greg's window, and thinks that Greg's his newfound circumstance of owing Sal $30,000 will make him receptive to the partnership that BlackRock is about to propose.
Uh-oh.
So the villain is keeping tabs on Greg. Wanting to know more about BlackRock, Supergirl meets Superman at the Fortress of Solitude. Supergirl needs background information on BlackRock because she can't figure out his identity. Nobody has any clue. The guards at GBS had that selective amnesia. Nobody knows what he looks like. And his hood, that was hard to say. His hood is lead lined. So of course Supergirl can't see through it. Very convenient. Superman informs her that BlackRock has never had the same civilian identity twice. So that's going to make it a little bit harder for her to figure out who this is. BlackRock's costume, though, this is something that Superman does know. BlackRock's costume and powers were designed by a man named Dr. Peter Silverstone, head of research and development for the United Broadcasting Company, GBS's chief competitor. BlackRock was originally intended to be UBC's resident superhero. UBC's president, Samuel Tanner, thought that the reason GBS's news department got so many scoops was because Superman worked for GBS. So Tanner wanted a crime fighter of his own. Actually, Samuel Tanner probably was right about that, because Superman working for GBS probably gave them a little bit of an edge on the news. Each time the UBC ratings took a nosedive, Silverstone, this is Dr. Peter Silverstone, head of research and development for the chief competitor to GBS. He chose the best candidate at the time and brainwashed him into becoming BlackRock. First, it was Tanner himself, and then Tanner's nephew. To this day, neither man had any recollection of ever having been BlackRock. Also very convenient that everybody's just forgetting everything. So this news means that this latest incarnation of BlackRock could be anyone. Watch out. It's like
dun,
a whole,
dun, dun.
like a Leviathan situation.
I was about to say, you know what this sounds like? It sounds like what they lied about Leviathan being.
Leviathan could be anyone or no one. It turns out
Leviathan could be anyone, but it's really Pencil Skirt and Rama Khan.
That's all we really got. They've been the main people. And that older lady, I forgot. I think her name was Margot too, maybe?
Oh, I think it was Margot.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Margot. Never forget.
All right. Well, continuing on. Meanwhile, BlackRock has approached Greg with his proposal to take care of Greg's gambling debt. Or murdering Sal. Greg isn't really sure. This conversation is taking a weird turn for Greg, and he thinks that BlackRock is saying like take Sal out, and so he's concerned that BlackRock is going to murder Sal, and he doesn't want to have anything to do with that. And but BlackRock will take care of Greg's gambling debt if Greg will steal the blueprints for a 3D television from the GBS research lab.
3D.
Now, keep in mind, this is 1981.
That was some cutting edge technology.
We ended up having 3D televisions in the future.
We did.
Although I never had one because I thought it was a kind of a silly idea, but they existed.
No one really did, but there's a reason we don't all have them. Not that exciting.
I don't really like 3D.
No one really does.
Those flimsy glasses on, and they're kind of.
I don't even like to go see like the movies in 3D.
Me neither.
Because like about halfway through the movie, my eyes just get tired. I'm like, no more 3D, please. Just normal for me. Thanks.
Am I going to sit at home and watch The Crown in 3D? What do you want from me?
It's like I'm really there. The corgis, they're like they're in the room with me.
Like, why am I going to sit at home and watch 3D? But anyway, that was a thing that they talked about in 1981 as being something brand new, and now it got realized.
That's true.
It wasn't popular, but it got realized. There are going to be a couple of instances like that with some of these things here in these issues that I think are very interesting history-wise. So Greg is supposed to go steal the blueprints for a 3D television from the GBS research lab. And I should point out that a television station is not going to be doing research on how to make new TVs. That's going to be
that's Samsung.
my uncle actually worked for Philips Magnavox and some other things. So my uncle actually he has the patent for picture-in-picture television.
Whoa!
So
that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. He actually used to do computer stuff and would be at conferences with Steve Jobs. So
whoa.
Anyway, those kinds of companies would be doing the television research on how to make new televisions, not the network studio.
It's not like NBC's in there, like.
So I find that a little hard to believe, but maybe in the 1980s, that's something that they were doing. I don't know.
This is a Wild West back then, so who knows?
Okay, so we know about Greg and the blueprints for the 3D television. Well, hearing an alarm that Supergirl installed in Lena's apartment, because remember, Supergirl is helping Lena move in. So now that Lena knows the secret, Supergirl's putting an alarm in her apartment so that just in case she ever had an emergency, Supergirl could fly over to Lena's apartment. And at this moment, she does it and discovers that Greg is there because Greg asked Lena to call Supergirl because he thinks BlackRock is going to kill Sal and hopes that Supergirl will help him prevent a murder, which is a pretty valid concern because BlackRock does go to Sal's casino. And and Sal's casino is referred to by the comic as Sal's, quote, little den of iniquity, unquote. Supergirl flies in just in time to start a fight with BlackRock, causing BlackRock to threaten that he won't help Greg with his gambling debt. So Greg really needs BlackRock to help him with this, but things have gone a little bit awry.
Things have gone astray. We have a correction from Mark in the chat. Caveat: at one time, NBC was owned by RCA and then GE. So
True.
maybe in that case, they would have been developing this 3D television.
It's like on 30 Rock when Jack Donaghy was working on those
microwaves,
the third heat ovens, or what was it? The third heat he needed for? Was it
like another setting on the microwave or something?
Microwave oven programming is what he was.
Yeah. It makes me so sad that GE doesn't own NBC anymore. The jokes were so good on 30 Rock about it.
The GE jokes were better than the what was the other company that came in and bought them? Comcast. Those jokes weren't as good. There was something about a couch or something. I remember it was kind of
it just
lame.
It wasn't as funny as the idea of like it being like a TV station that like also the parent company also made microwaves and like refrigerators. You get your refrigerator and a little bit of an NBC,
and that the TV executive was also involved in the creation of the microwave programming.
So good.
So those jokes, I agree, were a lot better. Everyone should watch 30 Rock. It's amazing. Okay, so let's get to the end of this issue and find out what the cliffhanger is, because it's a wild one. The issue ends on a cliffhanger at Lena's apartment. Lena's son Val and her mother-in-law enter the apartment to find Lena unconscious on the floor. Something has happened to Lena. She's been having those headaches, and something's happened. She has passed out on the floor. Is Lena gonna make it? We will have to find out in the next issue. So that's a big cliffhanger to leave it. Yes. So hopefully Lena will be okay.
Dun dun dun.
All right, Morgan, you want to take us through the Superman family, number 213?
Sure do. Yeah. So that brings us to our next issue in a story titled Bad Day with BlackRock. We return to the fight between Supergirl and BlackRock. The fight goes on for a while, and when Supergirl confronts BlackRock on going to kill Sal, BlackRock tells her that murder was never his intention. Which, I mean, should she trust him? I don't know. He doesn't seem trustworthy. I'm just saying.
He's made of particles.
He's made of particles. You can't trust a man made of particles. He says he went to the casino to merely scare him off. Sure, BlackRock. Supergirl informs BlackRock that he's still guilty of extortion and that he should face a judge. And I'm sure BlackRock loved that. So Greg, meanwhile, is in Henrietta's coffee shop nearby, but can't hear any of this conversation between Supergirl and BlackRock. Wait, did Greg just stop for a coffee?
Yeah, it seems like he goes to this coffee shop a lot. He knows Henrietta. He has an ongoing relationship.
So, like, Supergirl's like bailing him out of this like very bad situation. He's just like, all right, Java time.
Well, what else is he gonna do? He can't go to work. He's not doing any of his work.
That's true.
He's just trying to stay out of the casino. He's trying to avoid gambling temptation.
He's gonna get like really into coffee. He's gonna be like one of those people who are like, oh my god, it's only the best blends for me. It takes like 10 minutes to order a coffee. He's like, I'm really into artisanal coffees. It makes me not think about poker.
He's just going to switch one addiction for another one.
Exactly. Greg wonders what to do if Supergirl can't defeat BlackRock and concludes that if she can't, he still needs to hold up his end of the bargain and steal from the Galaxy Broadcasting System. Greg, I feel like that's a weird conclusion to come to.
I think there's some other options, maybe.
I feel like something in the middle there.
You don't have to go to theft.
Oh, Greg. Classic Greg. Meanwhile, back at Lena's apartment, medical assistance has arrived to take Lena to the hospital. Lena's mother-in-law, Ida Colby, asks the paramedic what he thinks is wrong with Lena, and he tells her to start praying. What in the world? That doesn't seem that nice.
So this paramedic, I feel like, is not a medical professional, because she asked him, like, hey, what's going on? Can you tell me what's wrong with Lena? And he's like, I don't know. That's for the doctor to tell you. Like like, you're a paramedic.
That's for the guy upstairs to tell you. That's above my pay grade, lady.
You're a paramedic. You should be able to tell her something.
A little bit of medical information, maybe. Thanks for nothing.
Give her
Now I'm
information about the
panicking.
vitals or something. I don't know. Like, take her temperature. Tell her something.
He's like, I'm not gonna. I can't say for certain, but she's definitely dying. Jeez, thanks for that. Thanks for just stressing me out more. Meanwhile, in the 20th floor research labs of Galaxy Broadcasting's building in New York, Greg is trying to swipe the blueprints Black Rock wants. Supergirl locates Greg using a supervision scan of the building and offers Greg a more productive deal. The issue is going to make us wait to learn what that is, and turns the time ahead 1 hour. This is some storytelling here.
Yes,
We're getting
jumping
some drama. So Linda has reached St. Vincent's Hospital. Lena's mother-in-law tells Linda that Lena had a cerebral hemorrhage caused by a ruptured aneurysm.
I guess I talked to the doctor.
I guess the doctor knew. I guess the doctor wanted to get some information. I mean, but they don't have much because the doctors don't know how or why. So they're really striking out in this whole situation. Lena's mother-in-law thinks that Lena may not make it.
Oh no, things are dire for Lena.
This is pretty dire. The mother-in-law doesn't seem all that sad about it though. Because she brought a photocopy of an FBI dossier proving that Lena is Lex Luthor's sister. Why is she doing that? Like, what does that have to do with anything?
So she thinks that if Lena is going to die, her son needs to know who she really is.
Okay. I was about to say she's getting really aggressive for no reason here.
He needs to know the truth.
He needs to know, his family heritage. Lena's son Val doesn't know this, and the mother-in-law thinks he should. So the issue then flashes back to when Lena gained her ESP powers due to a Lex Luthor scientific experiment gone wrong. When Lex turned to a life of crime, Lex and Lena's parents decided to change their name to Thorol, reversing the letters of the name Luthor.
That's slick.
Truly do love that.
Nobody will ever know.
No one's gonna figure that one out for sure. That's why they were geniuses, right? That's what criminal masterminds, all of them. So they moved to another town and tell young Lena that her brother was dead. So I guess they were just like, we don't know what to do with this kid, so we're just gonna change our names and move. And just hope he never finds us.
Well, Lex was a bad guy. Nobody wanted to have anything to do with him.
Lex was a very bad boy, so they just left him. Years later, and after her parents were killed in an auto accident, Lena applied to join the FBI. Oh, Lena's had such a life, man.
She ditched the FBI to become a screenwriter on a soap opera.
Yeah. But they were hesitant to hire someone like Lena, who seemingly didn't have a past. Supergirl, having learned the truth, turned the information over to the FBI, resulting... Wait, is this previous?
Wait, say it again.
Wait, did Supergirl previously turn the information over to the FBI about Lena being related to Lex? So she just kind of boned Lena's chances at getting into the FBI.
Yeah, well, she thought she needed to do the right thing here. And P.S. my StreamYard is freezing. I think my
oh no.
I think my Chrome is freezing.
Mine, the gap says Supergirl is a narc.
Okay, if you will hang out in the chat for a second, I'm gonna try to reboot, and then we will continue on with our story. My apologies that it has frozen up. I'm gonna try to see if I can restart my Chrome.
Having all kinds of technical difficulties with StreamYard lately, I swear.
Yeah, it is. I think it's also just me. Okay, I'm going to come out and come back in.
Sure.
If I can. All right. Now I guess I'm just gonna have to restart my computer. Ew.
Oh no.
Chrome has been messing up. If there are comments in the chat, ask Morgan some questions, and I will be back.
Sure. So I see that Aaron asks, wasn't Lena more of a ghostwriter for this soap? Yeah, I guess she didn't really get credit for it, did she? Because she's really doing all of Greg's work for him. Greg is just sort of riding on her coattails as the soap is taking off and getting really popular, and they're loving all the storylines, and they're loving Linda Danvers in the role, but Greg's getting all the credit for it, but really it's Lena who's doing all the writing. So yeah, she is a ghostwriter. I bet when she leaves this job, they're gonna be like, well, you did a great job as an assistant. And she'll be like, can I put on my resume that I was a writer? And they'll be like, you sure can't. Because that just seems kind of like the vibe at this place. Brian says BlackRock has affected StreamYard. Yeah, all the little particles of BlackRock went into the StreamYard, and that is what is causing the technical difficulty. I do appreciate that we are left on this beautiful panel from Superman Family number 213, where little baby Lena is apparently getting electrocuted by what looks like a giant brain. I'm not sure that it is a giant brain, but it's what looks like is happening in this comic panel, and it is a very funny image. Mind the Gap says, a story about a soap writer getting credit for a woman's work sounds like an 80s movie. And Mark says, patriarchy, both of which I agree with. If it sounds pretty realistic for the 1980s, that just a sort of mediocre white man would just walk away with the credit for for Lena's work. But what are you going to do? It looks like Rebecca is maybe coming back, which is exciting. And we can learn more about Lena's tragic backstory and how she got electrocuted by that giant brain in the jar or whatever it is. Rebecca, are you back?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. It just froze up on me.
We dove into a little bit of Alina getting the short shift in this writing job that she's not going to be able to put on her resume, because they're not going to be like, no, she wasn't a writer on the show. She's like, but all the best storylines were mine.
Surely they've given her some kind of credit.
She's like,
probably
my
on there
exploded doing this.
Yeah, she's really laying it all down for her job at Secret Hearts.
The Emmy, Greg is gonna. I bet Greg's gonna get an Emmy for this, and he's gonna be like, "I would like to thank everyone." And then he gets off the stage, and Lena's like, "You didn't thank me."
Everyone but Lena.
My brain exploded. Greg.
Okay, so where did we leave off? I think we left off at Lena's mother-in-law having the FBI dossier on her.
Yes, that's right, because Lena applied to the FBI, but they were like, why doesn't she have a pass? And Supergirl's like, this is why. And narked on Lena and gave them that dossier about being related to Lex, which Lena's mother-in-law then brought to the hospital. Lena really can never get a moment's peace in any of these stories. Remember that deal that Supergirl wanted to make with Greg? We're now back to that. So we're sailing on the Staten Island ferry. Imagine it, picture it, if you will. The sights, the sounds, the seagulls. So we're on the ferry, so Greg can meet up with BlackRock to give him the blueprints. Now, obviously, there's a twist here, because Supergirl is like allowing this to happen. After handing them over, BlackRock pushes Greg, who cannot swim, into the water for betraying him. This is pretty harsh for Greg. Greg is having a pretty bad day.
I also want to make a note about the visuals here in the comic that BlackRock has a trench coat and a hat on.
It's a great disguise.
You would never know.
You would never know it's BlackRock.
He's still got that like pink/purplish
like
mask on. But the trench coat is covering him up.
No one will see me now.
He can create selective amnesia for people, but here he's just chosen to go undercover.
This is a better disguise, really. So Greg's now in the water. Splosh. He is in quite some trouble. But thankfully, Supergirl flies in and fishes Greg out of the drink and grabs the blueprints. To get the blueprints, BlackRock follows Supergirl into the Lincoln Tunnel. Oh no, so much traffic. This is not going to make somebody's evening commute any better, let me tell you. They're several hundred feet below the Hudson River, where his body rematerialized thanks to BlackRock being powerless, where broadcast signals don't reach. The Power Stone converts radio and TV waves from the atmosphere into raw power.
One of the things I don't like about some of these like early 80s comics is they went so hard on like the scientific thing. They wanted to really make you understand what was happening, and I'm like, it's too complicated for me. I can't keep up with that stuff. Just say that like he can't use his powers here. That's fine. I don't need to know
just
why.
Like, have it be like timey-wimey logic. We're all gonna go with it. We don't care.
I don't care about the broadcast signals and the Power Stone, and it's too much.
Lena has ESP and she's writing she's ghostwriting a soap opera. Like we're with you.
Keep it simple. I can't keep up with all this stuff.
You don't have to have it grounded in reality. It's not. He's a particle man who comes out of the TV. So Supergirl unmasks BlackRock to reveal that he is Dr. Peter Silverstone, UCB's Director of Research and Development, who wanted the 3D TV plan so he could come up with a competitive version before GBS could get theirs on the market.
It goes all the way to the top.
Just corporate espionage. Like the most boring version of how this could have turned out. He was like, we're going to make all the profits this quarter, Supergirl. He like gets out a PowerPoint slide. He's like, let me show you my deck.
This is something I can understand.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I get this. Yeah. Evil corporate people. Yeah, that makes more sense in my daily life. So Supergirl informs Greg that the only way for him to stay alive and out of jail is through his legal testimony to help bust Sal's operation for good. In exchange, Greg will be granted immunity from prosecution and relocated with a new identity under the DA's witness protection program, canceling his TV writing career and his run on Secret Hearts. So this is actually quite sad.
Yeah, well, Greg is not going to deal with the debt.
Yeah.
And he probably won't get killed by like mobsters.
That's great. I mean, both of those things are great.
Well, on the other hand, he's missing out on soap opera writing.
Yeah, that's gonna be a downer. Like, what job? Like his next job, his like witness protection job. It's not gonna be as fun as soap opera writer. No. And also, he was barely even doing that job.
He never showed up to
that job.
He was too busy taking Linda out.
Yeah, spending all his money on those sports tickets and U.S. Open seats and stuff.
So maybe soap opera writing is not something he really cares about.
Maybe that
it was
wasn't
just
his real
feeding
calling.
his gambling addiction.
I think so. I think he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be fine somewhere else, heating up his little pizza rolls, his Tostinos, so in some other city. So the issue ends with an update on Lena's condition. She has had a miracle breakthrough. Mrs. Colby hasn't told Val about his mother being Lex Luthor's sisters yet, but Lena awakens in her hospital room thinking she has the weirdest dream that Lex Luthor is her brother. Wait, she doesn't remember?
No. Yeah, this is not something she knows.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it gets pretty crazy. Wanting to get herself out of bed to get herself together, Lena looks into a mirror and notices that her head is shaved from an operation. Now she can see the family resemblance. She wonders if it's true. Can she really be Lex Luthor's sister? Dun dun dun.
My question is, where did she think the ESP powers?
I have a lot of questions about her like not knowing.
And also, did she just make the connection because of the bald head? You think?
I think
or,
so.
Or was like, I see something inside myself now.
He's bald. We are related. It's just like looking into my brother's eyes. It's all coming back to her now. That's what's happening.
So Lena is suspicious. So let's get into the Superman family number 214. At the beginning of a story titled "The Strange Revenge of Lena Luthor." So this is gonna get
Supergirl
good.
shouldn't have knocked her out.
Supergirl goes to visit Lena at home, but Lena feels like Supergirl has betrayed her, which she has, by keeping this big secret about Lex Luthor being her big brother. So she has figured this out.
Betrayed
She
her in a
knows-
couple ways.
She knows that Lex is her brother now. And Lena's not taking any of this well. She is concerned that she and her husband might have passed on a bad seed to Val, her son, and might have created another evil genius. She thinks that this is all DNA related. Lena's emotions become physical anger because her neurosurgery gave her telekinesis powers, and she causes her to crash things in the room. Things are flying all around in the room because she's getting angry at Supergirl. The reader of this issue is told that Lena's ESP powers, though, are gone.
What?
She's gained telekinesis powers, but her ESP powers, no more.
Twist.
And it should also be mentioned that as a result of Lena's surgery, Lena has lost part of her memory and has forgotten, conveniently, that Linda Danvers is Supergirl. So she no longer
what a convenient twist.
knows that Linda Danvers is Supergirl. And so that means that Lena may be angry with Supergirl for betraying her, which she did. But she isn't mad at Linda. So there is a distinction between the two for Lena at this current time.
She's like, you know what I love best about Linda? How she's never betrayed me.
Linda has never kept secrets from me. So she's cool with Linda at this time. So to try and help explain some things, because Lena's upset about the whole Lex Luthor is her brother thing, Supergirl has arranged a closed circuit TV conference with Lex. And this is kind of like a modern day Zoom meeting, I think.
It looks like it, yeah.
So after the, quote, two-way communication is established via the specially designed television with built-in microphone, unquote, because they've got to explain how this technology exists, Lex tells Lena that he only kept their relation secret because he wanted to spare her the shame. He's doing it for her. He's keeping the secret from you for your own good.
What a good brother. I mean, he did give her ESP powers by electrocuting her with a big brain in a jar, but he felt bad about it.
He did feel bad. He felt some shame about it. Lena's still pretty mad about all of this, though. And the reason is that everyone in her life knew the secret but Lena, which seems like a thing that happens to Lena Luthor quite a bit in various incarnations. So this is right up the road for Lena Luthor. She is the one person who had the right to know this, but she didn't. Lena's doctors think that Lex's lab experiment caused the aneurysm, I guess just many years later, that resulted in her stroke. So Lena's doctors are like, I think this has something to do with that experiment. So they're pinning it on that. And because she didn't remember it, there was no way for her to prevent it, which I can see why she's upset about this. Lena almost died because people didn't tell her the truth. Maybe she could have prevented this if she
could have gotten some
something.
Checkups and stuff.
Yeah. So as far as Lena is concerned, nothing has changed. She tells Lex, quote, "It's just as I always believed. I have no brother," unquote. So she is still disowning Lex. She's not going to have anything to do with him at this time. Meanwhile, Supergirl is participating in the annual United Volunteers Telethon. So this is something that Supergirl does. You know, she goes around and does Supergirl things. Even though Linda Danvers isn't shooting Secret Hearts today, she must have the day off, I guess. Supergirl still goes to a TV studio anyway. She's making her home in TV studios these days to make a personal appeal for donations to help starving refugees. That's a very nice thing for Supergirl to do, to volunteer her time to help these starving refugees. Now, 20 minutes before she is supposed to go on television, Supergirl sits down in the makeup chair. She's going to have her makeup done. She notices that the makeup, though, she's a little concerned about the makeup because it has a greenish tint to it, which for Supergirl raises some concerns. Why is this green? She is familiar enough with TV makeup to know that something is wrong. The makeup artist, who says she is hired help and is just posing as the makeup artist, she's admitting to this, admits that there is kryptonite dust in the makeup, and Supergirl starts to feel weak. So the greenish tint to the makeup is in fact kryptonite dust. This fake makeup artist also has a paralysis ray on hand, apparently, and she uses the paralysis ray on Supergirl to make her arms and legs feel heavy as lead and make it so that she starts to feel sleepy. So Supergirl's been affected by kryptonite, and she's basically feeling paralysis through this paralysis ray that this poser as this makeup lady has used on her. Now, this is a side note before we continue on with the story, but Supergirl Radio got a comment on Instagram this past week from a user named @EnemyOfTheShoe, who wrote, quote, "I only have a few of these Superman family issues. Did Linda Danvers have a professional hair and makeup person while working in television? It wouldn't take long to discover that Linda is wearing a wig," unquote. So it appears that in this issue, Linda Danvers, I think, may have been doing her own makeup on Secret Hearts. So maybe if she was doing her own makeup, maybe she was doing her own hair as well. And that would explain why nobody has discovered her secret identity because of that. So
Budgets were tight on Secret Hearts. You do your own hair and makeup.
So that may be something that she chose to do so that nobody would figure out who she is. But we'll have to keep an eye on that if that ever comes up in a story. But as far as I gather right now, she's doing her own stuff. So continuing on with the story, when Supergirl wakes up, she learns that the fake makeup artist was hired by Lex Luthor, and he has taken her to a room covered in fluorescent panels and artificial light that has the same wavelengths as Krypton's red sun, nullifying her powers. Or so Lex claims. Supergirl figures out that Lex used a strobe light to hypnotize her and make her think she'd lost her powers. So she thought because of the red light that she had lost her powers, but actually she had them the whole time. They were in her all along. She still had the powers. She was just sort of tricked into thinking she had lost them. So Supergirl thinks that this is all a very strange situation because a genius like Lex Luthor ought to be able to take away her powers for real. Lex is a genius. If he wanted to take away Supergirl's powers, he could probably do it. And she's right in this case. The man she thought was Lex Luthor was only wearing a Lex Luthor mask. I guess people have those laying around. And so this guy was wearing a Lex Luthor mask posing as Lex Luthor. So this Lex Luthor imposter, as well as a Supergirl double on his team, are members of a conspiracy and elite band of conmen known as the SCTF, or Super Crime Task Force, to drive Lena insane. This is their goal.
This is a whole plan just to drive Lena crazy?
They are also involved in hoaxing Lena into believing that she had telekinesis. So that telekinesis power that we thought she had developed after her surgery, that was not real.
What? How could they do that, though?
They hoaxed her, like they were pulling things and making sure that like things are falling off and crashing.
Lena's like, I really want the remote. And then they're like, all right, guys, get the remote to her. There's like a visible wire on it. And she's like, I have telekinesis.
It was post-surgery. She was probably a little loopy. So she probably bought whatever they were doing. So she doesn't really have telekinesis. And they also tricked her into believing that she killed her close friend Supergirl. So
that's not very nice.
That's pretty traumatizing. So the criminals have really done a number on Lena, and they did all of this to get back at Lena's FBI agent husband, who sent them to jail. Lex, meanwhile, apologizes to Lena for talking about their relationship to Sam, his cellmate and member of the SCTF. So the whole reason the whole reason all of this is happening is they're trying to get back at Lena's FBI agent husband, and this is because Sam, Lex's cellmate, was a member of this group. So that's he's kind of the ringleader of it. This issue ends in sort of a positive way, I guess. Lex takes responsibility for what happened with all of this stuff with this criminal organization and you know, Lena's hoaxing and all of this, which leads to Lex and Lena patching up their differences. So maybe brother and sister are having a better relationship now.
That's really touching. Although, how mad would you be if you thought you had telekinesis, which is a very cool power, and then it turns out you didn't? You're like, oh my god, I was so excited. I was gonna finally put up that shelf I've been meaning to. I had plans.
You can't really do that with the ESP powers.
No, you can't. You're just like, oh, he's thinking about a hamburger. She's like, finally a useful one. So cruel.
I can see how that would be disappointing.
So that takes us to Superman Family number 215.
And this is our final issue in this part.
Ooh, okay. So at the beginning of this issue, titled Crisis at the Crossroads in Time. Ooh, okay. Supergirl spots a noisy protest group known as the Righteous Knights riding through New York City.
It says it's a great band name.
It does sound like a great band name. Have you checked out the newest song from the Righteous Knights? If you're wondering if this is Knights with a K, you'd be right. This group wears knight armor and rides horses, which seems weird. Since plans to convert a loft building into a Montessori school were announced, Supergirl figured the Knights would target it for a torching. I'm so sorry. What are they? I'm so sorry. What are they protesting? Why are they mad that they're turning it into a school?
That's a good
They
question.
hate Montessori?
The issue just kind of makes them out to be this like a group that's
Angry
causing
for-
chaos. Yeah.
We're just so angry about Montessori schools.
I mean, maybe they believe that everything was better in the medieval times.
Maybe
And
they're
like,
you know what they didn't have in medieval times? Montessori. How dare you?
people should not be educated. Shouldn't go to school. That was not something they did back then.
Get out of that school, you peasants! They yell in their knight armor.
Unfortunately, I don't think the issue really delves into that. It just says these people are a rowdy bunch. They don't like the school, and so they're gonna burn it down.
I feel like I just can't. I have so many follow-up questions that the issue is not interested in answering.
I want to know more about the Righteous Knights.
Why are they
honestly.
on horses? Why do they have armor?
Why
are
not?
I guess why not? They're like, listen, we just do us, okay? And this is what we love. And I'd hate to take that away from them. But I think Supergirl's going to, because they're going to torch that school. So the Righteous Knights successfully set off a bomb. Guys, it's not that serious.
Why are knights using bombs though?
I don't. That's anachronistic, guys.
That's not on brand.
That's not any better than the Montessori school. Cracked open by the blast, and a mobile figure on the building's ground floor, dressed in futuristic garb, is revealed. So now there's a futuristic person, and there's knights. So I'm excited about where this is going.
Well, the title did suggest there was timey-wimey stuff in here.
They're gonna have to fight to the death now. So the figure shimmers, fades, and vanishes, only to be replaced by another oddly clad prisoner, equally immobile. But soon, long unused muscles strain for life, and the figure starts to move. The body begins to change into a dark, viscous.
Yeah, viscous maybe.
That dissipates just as Supergirl arrives to make repairs to the building.
A lot of these characters in these issues have particle things, and they're dissipating, and they're disintegrating. A lot of these characters are disappearing.
Interesting.
They do this a lot in these issues. I don't know what the fascination is with these characters disappearing and disintegrating and made of particles. I don't really understand it.
It looks like Mark says in the chat that their reasonings was in the panel they showed. They're against daycare because it allows women to go to work instead of staying home raising their kids.
That's right.
They're
That's
sexist knights. Did not see that coming. Okay, good, Supergirl. You should definitely beat them up.
You know what Greta Gerwig would say about that?
Patriarchy.
Good catch, Mark. I'd forgotten about that.
That's insane. Okay, so over at GBS, Linda Danvers meets with Secret Hearts producer Alan Ward, who tells her that the show got a pickup and there will be 25 more weeks of your basic weeping, wailing, and teeth gnashing.
That's all the best stuff in a soap opera.
Amazing. Alan tells Linda that ever since she came on the show as Margot Hatton, it's been a smash hit. This issue makes a note to the reader that the reason we haven't gotten a lot of follow-up on Secret Heart's business lately is because the show has been on its mid-season hiatus. I love that, touching in on that little bit of realism. It's like, I know you've been wanting more Secret Hearts, but it's on hiatus.
Also, soap operas never take a hiatus. What is this issue talking about? They air like every day, almost all the year long. But
They're like,
maybe in the
it's
80s
union
things were
rules. What are we gonna do?
And I don't know if Alan Ward can attribute Secret Hearts' newfound ratings hike to Linda, although I'm sure she's a great actress. But we can't forget about the Mind Bomber's fantastic storytelling.
That is true. The Mind Bomber really had something. He was so talented.
People go to soap operas for the storytelling and the
true.
narratives that are being spun. So I feel like the Mind Bomber really needs some credit
We
here.
should put some respect on the Mind Bomber. we have to acknowledge his talent.
R.I.P. to the Mind Bomber.
R.I.P. Since Greg Gilbert went into witness protection, Secret Hearts has hired new head writers, Herb and Marilyn Silver. This married couple used to be the head writers for Memorial Hospital, the #1 soap on the air. Is it Herb or it's Herb, right?
I would think Herb, like Herbert.
I'm pronouncing it like herbs, like you cook with.
No, I think it's I would say Herb.
It's got to be Herb, right? Okay, that's what makes sense. Herb and Marilyn asked Alan Ward to do some audience tests, which told them that the audience love Linda Danvers, the actress, but that they think Margot Hatton, her character, is boring. The new head writers want to make Margot the show's new bad girl, which does sound awesome.
Well, she was hired to be the new shrew.
She was hired to be a shrew. She shouldn't be surprised by this.
So I don't think Linda is the problem. I think the writing is the problem, which
it sounds like
it has been a problem because Greg had a gambling addiction and he wasn't.
There's
really
a lot of behind the scenes
and then
drama.
Lena went to the hospital, so the writing is probably suffered.
Could you imagine like reading like the behind the scenes book about Secret Hearts, and it's like when things got a little weird behind the scenes, it was because the Mind Bomber had just died, R.I.P. And then Greg went into witness protection, and then Lena's head exploded. It turns out Lena actually was writing the story the whole time. But then she lost her ESP, and then she gained telekinesis, but then she lost telekinesis, and then she found out she was related to Lex Luthor. So now she's in a lot of therapy, and she doesn't have time for this.
It's a soap within a soap.
It's a soap within a soap. I love it. Interrupting this important Secret Hearts meeting is a villain calling himself Toxus, who happens to be the oddly clad and previously immobile character from the building explosion. The police suspect that Toxus was at the annual flower show at the Coliseum in search of some roses, blue ribbon hybrids worth big bucks. Wow, Toxus, come on. You can do better than stealing some roses from a flower show. Set your sights higher.
Maybe he's also lost some money at a poker game from Sal's casino.
He's like, the thing you don't know about Toxus is that I love flowers. He goes up. He's like, "Oh man, is that a rare lily stick?" Talks us out. What a terrifying villain he is. So Toxus gets into a skirmish with Supergirl and the police, firing some sort of gas from nozzles in his gloves, evading them by transmuting his body's molecule structure and exiting unnoticed through an air duct as if he was a wisp of smoke. Supergirl doesn't think that technology that Toxus uses comes from Earth, at least from present day Earth. Oh, dun dun dun. Toxus can filter out the component toxic substances in air pollution and use them in any way that he chooses, which can also include altering the molecular structure of the elements he manipulates. So
See
wait,
what I'm talking about? Like, I don't need to know any of this stuff. This is too much.
so it's pollution that is to blame for
Yeah,
Toxis, though?
But yeah, pollution. Yeah, he's connected to pollution.
So okay, so everybody get those low emission cars. we can get rid of
We can
Toxis.
defeat him.
Everyone's vegan now.
This will come into play.
Oh my God, yes. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. We're going to save the city. We're going to get rid of the pollution. Could you imagine? Is this happening in LA, by the way? This is New York, right?
But this is New York.
Oh, in LA, he'd be so strong, Toxis. He'd be unstoppable. So more trouble is brewing for Supergirl at a seedy West Side hotel when a silhouetted man had phone conversation with an unidentified person with the Hive about wanting to take another shot at Supergirl. But the issue tells us the Maid of Might won't learn the identity of this sinister schemer or confront him for quite some time yet, which is just as well. Right now, she doesn't need another headache.
Yeah, Supergirl's got a lot going on.
So they're like setting up storylines for the future now.
Yes,
They're like,
yes.
don't worry about this now, but later.
Even though it's like, if you're gonna put it in there, you need to pay that off.
Yeah,
I
like,
know who this guy is.
Yeah, keep us updated, please.
So I guess we'll find out about this guy in the next issue.
In our next episode.
In our next installment.
Dun dun dun. So that headache comes in the form of another Supergirl. So Linda comes fist to face with the other Supergirl, punches her while investigating the building Toxis escaped from. So this Supergirl calls Linda sister and claims to be Supergirl from her distant future. This future Supergirl won't answer Linda's questions about what future awaits her. Must be hers. This future Supergirl won't answer Linda's questions because what future awaits her must be hers to discover without foreknowledge. But she does tell her that the building that they're in has a time warp inside of it.
that seems like that's important information. I like how people from the future are like, we shouldn't tell you anything. You don't need to know about your future.
I can't tell you anything about the future, but like Apple stock. Wink. Wink. So the building they're in has a time warp inside of it that links their respective eras, created by an outlaw named Tal Balak,
Belloc, maybe,
who, while is a 20th century man, is also from the future Supergirl's time period. This is getting very complicated.
It's so much.
I have a headache now too, just like Lena. And this episode like finally does me in. It's like, oh God, she couldn't take it. her brain exploded, just like Lena's. The future Supergirl tells Linda that she needed Superman's help to defeat Tal Belloc, and because some of her powers are weaker than Linda's. Together, future Supergirl and Superman stunted Toxis long enough to permit her to bring him to her era, where he could be imprisoned. Superman doesn't remember helping future Supergirl or Toxis because she erased his recollection with super hypnotism. At his request, consent matters because he too understands the perils of knowing the future.
This is the first I've heard of super hypnotism. I know about super ventriloquism, but Supergirl can just like hypnotize people, I guess, as well.
That's a new one. A new one.
Okay.
She's got so many powers.
Yeah.
Within half an hour, the Supergirl from the future has made the situation clear to her 20th century counterpart, and they make a deal. Linda will tackle Tal Balak in future Supergirl's time period, while future Supergirl takes on Toxis in the present day, as long as secret identities are maintained, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
This is very important.
This is like a quid pro quo situation. So they're having like a handshake deal, I'm assuming.
The secret identity is a pretty high priority item, though, for this.
Oh,
situation.
yes, for sure.
Yeah.
With that, Linda Danvers steps through the time warp and across millennia To make sure we've gotten this straight, Linda recounts what she has learned. Always good to recap, for people in case you're not following along.
There's a lot of things happening. It's very
Just
timey-wimey.
so much happening. The last time her future counterpart battled Belloc, she imprisoned him in the 20th century. Then imprisoned Toxus in her own era. 500,000 years later, Toxus was imprisoned in the place Linda winds up in through the time warp because in this far future, there is no pollution and nothing for him to manipulate.
Ah.
They did it. They figured out pollution. I feel like we need to get like the "We did it" banner and put it out.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Pollution is gone. Oh man. Apparently the place Linda has ended up in through her time warp adventure is New York City, 500,000 years in the future, or at least what is left of it. Uh-oh.
Yeah, so this is not the best outcome.
There was a devil's bargain to get rid of all that pollution, I guess. Supergirl can only gape in astonishment at the sweltering volcanic landscape beneath her and the hovering cities overhead. Oh my gosh. She wonders how many disasters the Earth has had to survive to produce so staggering a change.
I'm not 100% clear as to why the cities are hovering, though.
Neither am I.
That's something I don't fully understand at this point, but I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah, sure. The cities are hovering. Everything is terrible. Linda sees floating cities built atop chunks of igneous rock and can't seem to control her flying power. Is it possible that there have been changes in Earth's mass and its gravity is lighter now? Linda also noticed that there is an orange sun, which she thinks means that over the years the sun has cooled. It's become less intense than the yellow sun of her era, but it won't nullify her powers like a red sun would. However, it might weaken them. Oh, so she's going to have like the exact same problem as the other.
Yeah, so
Supergirl.
that's why the future Supergirl is a little weaker.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, but as soon as our Supergirl goes to this reality, she'll get a little weaker. So
Yeah.
aren't we in the exact same place?
I feel like they could have just stayed in their time
Yeah.
and just tried again, maybe.
I would have been
don't
so mad if I had done this switch and I discovered this. I'd be like, "Are you kidding me? Now I got to deal with all of this. I didn't sign up for this. That was a bad handshake deal."
Well, maybe the future Supergirl is like, I tried to deal with this and I couldn't do it. Maybe this other Supergirl is better than me.
That's
And
true.
can maybe our Supergirl is gonna fix it and figure it
She's
out.
like, I watched those reruns of Secret Hearts. I think this Supergirl's got a real something special about her. While in this era, Toxus finds Linda and our Supergirl realizes that he can manipulate molten rock the way he controls pollution. He's powerless in 20th century New York, where there are no volcanoes. But here, 500,000 years in the future, Toxus is deadly. Uh-oh. So
I think that's right. I think that's what the issue said.
But
Yeah.
so in one reality, he's like all about pollution, but he can also manipulate lava. So what have they accomplished by switching? I guess is what I'm trying to figure out.
His powers are also not super clear.
No.
I'm not real clear on kind of what he does. He can like materialize things or something. He can manipulate things. So I don't know. Again, this is one of those things where I feel like less is more.
Yeah.
They tried to do too much with the science mumbo jumbo, and I get lost in it.
So I'm going to pitch out a story idea, which is
Okay.
that future Supergirl is evil. And she was
Ooh.
like, my reality is terrible. While there is no pollution, the sun is so weak. It's always chilly. I always have to wear a heavy cardigan. It doesn't look good with the outfit. I hate these floating cities. I hate all this lava. But you know when it was great? the 80s. Everybody was wearing spandex. Everything was so bright. I'm going back to the 80s. I'm going to convince that Rube, Supergirl, to switch with me to save the world. And then I am going to get on my Lycra and do a Jane Fonda workout tape.
I'm going to live in super violent New York City, but I'm going to be on a soap opera.
I'm going to be famous. The sun is bright. It's I can take off my sweater now.
Yeah, I see this as being a better deal for the future Supergirl.
It's definitely a better deal. Like the other Supergirl is like, my powers don't work, and while I can breathe clean air, to what purpose? So back in 1981 Manhattan, the future Supergirl, or the evil Supergirl,
we're just gonna go with that's our headcanon,
is learning how to live as Linda Danvers and have a secret identity. The doorbell bing bongs, and entering the apartment are the new head writers for Secret Hearts. Remember how our Linda was only going to go to the future if future Supergirl maintained Linda's secret identity? Well, future Supergirl has already blown it. Great job. When opening the door to the Silvers, she rips the door right off its hinges. She isn't used to her strength being so much greater in this era. The head writers conclude that only one woman alive could do that. Supergirl! What has future Supergirl done?
Knocked a certain mate of mine's secret identity into a cocked hat, that's what. And there are dozens more pitfalls in store for both Supergirls next time on Supergirl Radio.
So that takes us to the end of part 2 of our Secret Hearts series covering the Superman family 212 through 215. So we are leaving the story of the two Supergirls having switched places. And we'll have to pick up next time to find out what future Supergirl is going to do to completely ruin our Supergirl's life, it looks like.
Future Supergirl isn't a very good actress.
Well, because they did mention that Secret Hearts was like up in the ratings.
Yeah. Like what if she comes back on and the audience is like, this is not the shrew I know.
this actress sucks. I don't like her.
What happened to her?
Yeah, so I think that's something that maybe our Supergirl should have prepared the future Supergirl for. Like,
it feels like,
if we make this switch, do you have acting ability?
Have you studied? Are you classically trained?
Well, actually, we're on hiatus. So maybe it's not.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's a way to get her to be part of the Linda's life without having to go on TV.
This has been wild. Learned so much.
Some great Supergirl mythology here in these Superman family issues. So been lots of fun. So we'll do one more episode on our Secret Hearts 3-parter. So we'll cover the next issues and wrap it up. And if we discover that there are other Secret Hearts mentions, we'll maybe bring it back. But for right now, we're only doing the 3-part series. So this is ending part 2, and we will conclude with part 3 next time around. In the meantime, Morgan, we have some feedback. Would you like to get to that for us?
Sure. We have an email from Mark who writes, "Hi, ladies. I have a few thoughts about a couple of your recent episodes. So first, regarding your coverage of Superpowered, the DC story, Major Wheeler Nicholson, the founder of DC, has a living granddaughter who is an actress. I'd love to see her get a cameo in one of the upcoming DCU projects, assuming the family hasn't sworn to hate DC forever." It feels like the least they can do.
I feel like that would be a pretty good get if they could.
That'd be pretty cool. You mentioned how one of the people who ran DC during the Golden Age had come to them from publishing racy magazines.
Mm-hmm.
If we then skip ahead to the late 1960s, DC was owned by a sketchy New York parking company that was eventually bought by Steve Ross, becoming the foundation of Warner Communications. If we put those facts together, the magazines in the 1930s and the parking company, it seems likely that the ownership of DC, the company that brought us truth, justice, and the American way, had some level of involvement by people I won't describe too precisely because I don't want Morgan's mom to be all up in my social media accusing me of defaming Italian Americans.
Goodness.
We're not all in the mob, okay? And I said, Mom, didn't you know some people who were in the mob? She's like, well, yes, I did, but Mark says, personally, I'd love to see that story of DC ownership in the 1940s and 50s told. Sounds great.
I think that's a great documentary. I think that's another one that you could churn out that would be really interesting.
Oh yeah. Let's get into it. I don't know if either of you have seen it, but there is a documentary on Hulu titled Batman and Bill.
I actually have seen that. Yeah.
Oh, have you? I haven't seen this.
Maybe we could Patreon exclusive.
Yes, that could be fun.
It could be a movie review that we do.
Yeah, I love that because I was really interested in that in the documentary, and obviously they spent a little bit of time on it, but as much as they could spend on anything in that documentary.
They had to get to the video games.
They did. That tells the story of the fight to get Bill Finger an official credit for the creation of Batman. Definitely worth watching. And I did find out that Batman v Superman was not the first time the with Bill Finger credit appeared, although it is the first feature film to have it.
Thank you for that correction, Mark. I had forgotten about this. So yes, that is correct.
He says, I knew Gotham had it before that, and according to this page, its first appearance on that show was trumped by a Robot Chicken special that ran on Cartoon Network just after midnight on the morning of the day that the credit also appeared on Gotham. Oh, so they Robot Chicken got in there just under the wire.
Like a campaign. So I'll include this link that Mark sent us in the YouTube description and also in the audio podcast description as well, so that people can reference it.
I just want to bring up this comment from Mind the Gap, who says there was rumors the mob was involved in Marvel Comics publishing also.
What did the mob have to gain from comic books?
The mob has given us so much. Tony Soprano, Marvel and DC. Everyone's just too hard on the mob, I always say. Mark goes on to say, now related to Secret Hearts and Supergirl's soap opera actress career, I can't really speak to soaps in any capacity, but I was surprised to hear that Superman Family was still publishing in the early 80s. I would have thought that book would have died in the DC implosion and that those stories were in the New Adventures of Supergirl instead, so color me surprised. But while I can't really talk about soap operas, I can talk about something I remember well. New York Yankees brawls of the era. Yes. This is the kind of niche knowledge that we want and need. The author of that particular story didn't pull that out of thin air. There were a few buttes in my childhood. The first isn't really a brawl. It was the moment the Yankees won the 1977 World Series after having been swept 4-0 by Cincinnati the previous year. Reggie Jackson, number 44, does what looks like some brawling as he runs for his life. The second one is the brawl I most remember, the Red Sox and Yankees in 1976. That's so funny. I'm looking forward to hearing more of Secret Hearts, and having Bill and Anne-Marie play the soap scenes is brilliant.
Yes, they did a fantastic job. I guess, can you think we could pull up?
Oh my God, there really are videos of the brawls.
Do you want to see the brawls?
I kind of do want to see the brawls.
I'll see if I can pull this up. Of course, we have to wait for the ad to finish playing.
Of course, you got to get your ad before you your vintage Yankees brawl.
But yeah, so Mark did send us the links to these video clips, so we can go through them to see what they looked like here. I believe, let's see, that should be full screen. Is my audio? Oh, I turned the audio down. So it's a normal baseball situation here.
All right, looks like
catching the out,
winner,
and then things are not going so well. The sportsmanship is not very good here. There's Reggie Jackson.
Oh my God!
He's my gosh! He's knocking somebody over.
Everybody out of the way. He's running.
Everybody's storming the field.
Oh my God!
I mean, I guess
somebody was chasing him with like a club. I would run too.
I mean, mean, I guess this is a World Series. It's a pretty big deal, but
Oh my God.
calm down.
Yeah,
Be
this doesn't have to be like this.
Yeah, so that's the Yankees winning the World Series in 1977. So that was one of the brawls that Mark mentioned. So the one that he most remembered was the Red Sox and the Yankees when they emptied the benches and getting past the ad here so that we can pull it back. Got to make that ad revenue.
Truly didn't know that there were this many brawls back then.
I guess that was a time period. Maybe people were, feeling a little agitated for some reason.
The baseball brawls.
So this is Red Sox and Yankees. Both of these involved the Yankees.
What were the Yankees doing in the 70s?
So somebody tried to go in
already. There's
a home plate. There's punching. Oh my
gosh. Oh wow.
Well, both teams have gotten out onto the field now.
Now everyone's out there. Now everyone's kind of.
I don't feel like everybody needs to be out there.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It feels like this is making it worse.
And they're not really breaking up the fight.
They're just kind of like looking at it. Just kind of looking at the fight.
This is kind of like this one is not as exciting as the other.
No, the other one was great. There was like a lot of running. There was a lot of chaos.
Reggie Jackson's like pushing people out of the way.
Reggie Jackson's like, I'm gonna live. He's getting out of there.
Ooh, the crowd is booing.
Oh, the crowd is not happy. The crowd's like, fight.
So number 37 looks like he's been injured. He's really favoring that left arm.
Yeah, he is.
I wonder if it's dislocated. Dislocation's the worst. I've dislocated my shoulder many times.
Oh, God. That's
not fun.
Sounds terrible.
So I guess this one did result in...
It's not
over yet. It's not over yet.
Oh, okay. This is what I think of.
I thought it was over. And then, this is
I'm
a
like,
better brawl.
that was just a fight. That was just a little fight. No, this is... Now everyone's punching everybody else. Everybody is punching everybody in the face.
You would think like the police would come in and separate them, like break this up.
No interest.
Nobody's really breaking this up. The adults are not in the room here. I don't know what's happening.
Oh.
I guess, is it over yet?
The announcer's like, don't know.
That poor guy is like, something is not right with that guy.
Poor number 37.
Oh man. So I think that's pretty much the emptying of the benches
what an
there.
MLB moment.
Yeah.
I like that it's like the official MLB.com is who uploaded that.
I do think it's interesting because we did cover Fred Fox of Sports Report. He's using this machine to cause these athletes to do weird things during these sporting events, and one of them is a fight that breaks out at a baseball game. And in these two examples that Mark sent us, both involve the Yankees. So our Supergirl stories take place in New York, and here the New York Yankees really
they did seem a little fighty during that time period.
So the Yankees really giving it their all with those brawls in the 1970s. So thank you, Mark, for passing those along for us to have a real world connection to these comic book stories. So very good. All right. Well, I guess. And Mark says in the chat, the injured player was Bill Lee. It was a dislocated shoulder, and that was his pitching arm.
Oh no!
I've dislocated my shoulder 4 times, so I know. I know that look where you're like, if I just hold it still, it won't hurt. I know that pose. So that felt like a dislocation to me. That's very hard to watch. So thank you for the follow-up on that. Well, I guess, Morgan, we have some snap judgments. Would you like to make
we definitely should get there.
In the game of snap judgments, each person is presented with 2 options, but must only choose one. First instincts are recommended and explanations are unnecessary.
Okay. Our first snap judgment is, who is the better villain, the Mind Bomber or BlackRock?
For me, the Mind Bomber had a little more presentation. BlackRock was I don't know why he was called BlackRock. His suit wasn't black. I guess he had a rock. He had like that Power Stone thingy, but his suit didn't really reflect his name or his abilities. I didn't think his branding was all that great, but the mind bomber, he had mind powers.
He did.
He was using them to effectively write stories for Secret Hearts and like try to get Supergirl. So I feel like the Mind Bomber made more sense, and he also had, I feel like, a little more presentation style and personality. So I'm going to go with the Mind Bomber.
I'm also going to go with the Mind Bomber. I think he had some pizzazz, like you said, but I also think like the tragedy of the Mind Bomber, which is like he didn't think he was good at anything, but he was really good at being a soap opera writer. And like that is so beautiful and tragic. And so I have to give it to the tragic tale of the Mind Bomber.
Truly one of the more memorable DC Comics villains, in my opinion. I don't think we'll ever forget about him.
We never will forget him and his beautiful, beautiful stories. Okay, which secret was a more shocking reveal? Lena being Lex Luthor's sister, or Greg being a compulsive gambler?
This is tough because Lena does resemble Lex Luthor because they both don't have any hair. So that should have been a giveaway. But I didn't see the gambling thing coming from Greg.
Gambling was a surprise.
I feel like he could have just been a slacker who didn't go to work or didn't do his job. The gambling debt, that was surprising. I think I'm going to go Greg here.
I am torn, but I think I'm going to go Lena because I feel like if you think about it a little bit, you can kind of see like this, like the breadcrumbs towards Greg's gambling addiction, and that he's like really into sports. Like
True.
All he's doing is taking her to different sporting events, probably because he's got money on the outcome.
True.
It's like, it's like one of those things where it's like a thinker where like now you think back and you go, oh, that's that was going on.
They were foreshadowing, I think.
It was. Chekhov's sporting event. So I have to go with Lena because that did kind of come out of nowhere when she had to have her head shaved. It's like, Lex Luthor, I see.
and for her, from her perspective, pretty shocking stuff.
Shocking for her, for sure.
She did not know. Everybody else knew, but she did not know.
She sure didn't. Everybody else was well aware, though, including the FBI. Important to know that the FBI has known this whole time.
Which would probably also include her FBI husband.
Oh, no.
Was he still alive at this point?
I have to unpack a lot of that in therapy.
She's got a lot of betrayal issues.
She does. Okay. You're Supergirl. A Supergirl comes to you from the future and wants to swap lives and eras. Do you, A, agree to the switch and go 500,000 years into the future, or B, turn her down because you fear she's going to ruin your acting career on a daytime soap opera?
I would be upset if she ruined my chances to be on a soap opera. That is a once in a lifetime chance. Yeah, Linda, especially from her perspective, she had earned it. She had that fire and that passion that the theater producer was like, I need her to be my shrew.
That all shrews need.
And if the future Supergirl botched that for her, I would be very upset. So I think I would stay and be like, this is my time to shine. I'm going to be on the soap opera.
I'd be really curious about the future, but I feel like I, unlike Supergirl, would ask like a lot of follow-up questions. Like, what's the future like? Do you still have chocolate there? How's the pollution level? Is the sun real bright or a little chilly?
Am I also gonna lose part of my powers?
How is this plan gonna work to both of our benefits? Because it feels like one of us is a little bit disadvantaged in this deal. So I would also stay as a soap opera actress because I don't feel like future Supergirl was giving her a very good deal at all.
But she told her that she couldn't divulge any information. So that was like her cover.
Oh, like, sure. She's like,
yeah,
terrible, actually. Hope you don't get stuck there.
Yeah, not a great deal.
I don't trust this future Supergirl. Okay, Mark sent us a snap related to absolutely nothing. Which of the following would you cast to play Condiment King in live action? Gordon Ramsay, Guy Fieri, or Bobby Flay?
Well, this could be connected to maybe the superpower, the DC story, or our villains documentary that we watched.
Yes.
Is it Condiment King? Is he a villain?
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, he's ridiculous, but
Yeah,
I think
so
technically he is a villain.
so maybe that's kind of related to some of the things we've been covering lately. I'm going to defer to you, Morgan. I don't know as much. Like, I don't know much. I know Gordon Ramsay and Guy Fieri, but
Yeah.
I don't know Bobby Flay. Tell me about
Yeah.
Bobby Flay.
Bobby Flay, he's got like a show. It's called like Beat Bobby Flay. I'm sure he's known for other things, but that's the thing I mostly know him from, where like other chefs come on to see if they can beat Bobby Flay, if they can like be
Oh,
better than Bobby Flay.
yeah.
So Bobby Flay is not right for me for the Condiment King because obviously he is keeping it humble. He's willing to be beaten, right? You know who's not? Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay has like just the right like DC villain energy. He's fun. He's over the top. He's going to scream at you. He's going to make sure that your movie is rated R because of all the F-bombs. He can't keep it to just one. It's not possible for him. And I think he would be a great condiment king. He would also insult the condiments as he was like spraying them at you. Ketchup, pedestrian, he'd say as he sprayed you in the face with ketchup. I think he'd be a great condiment king.
I think you sold me on Gordon Ramsay. I would enjoy that. I actually recently saw a reel on Instagram where Gordon Ramsay was watching this college kid make this like really fancy dinner in his dorm room. And Gordon Ramsay was shocked. I can't remember what the dish was, but he was shocked that this kid pulled it off in his like dorm room kitchen. So I found that endearing that he was like encouraging this college student.
If you ever want to
kitchen
watch
pursuits.
the Gordon Ramsay extended universe, the GREU, if you will, you have to watch what's it called? It's like he has like the kid. It's MasterChef Junior, and it's all like little kids, so like 8 to like I don't know, like 13. They're very small, and Gordon Ramsay has like a little bit of a temper and a mouth on him, as you might expect. So like it's so funny to see him like be like, "What is this? I wouldn't feed this to my dog." And then he'll get down and he'll be like, "I think we can do better, and I believe in you, Ethan." And then he'll like take the like uncooked chicken, like look the kid in the eye, and then throw it. It's incredible. It's so endearing, but also very funny because he does yell at the children a little bit.
Well, Mind the Gap says Condiment King was a comedian, so he has to be funny. So I feel like Gordon Ramsay is still
I
lies.
feel like Gordon Ramsay is very funny.
Yeah.
I've seen those TikTok duets he does with people where he's like, "What are you doing to that meat?"
Yeah, so I think you've sold me on the Gordon Ramsay. I would also agree.
I feel like we've
would
just
be
done some good casting for the DC if they ever want to take our advice.
Now I'm going to be disappointed if he's not cast as Condiment King. No judgments on your snap judgments. Well, that is going to do it for Supergirl Radio. So we need to get to some Supergirl Radio and some DC TV podcast plugs. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Now see here, Supergirl Radio is part of the DC TV Podcast Network. So if you want to listen to other shows, we've got The Flash Podcast, Legends of Tomorrow Podcast, The Lituation Room, DC on HBO Max Podcast, Stargirl Podcast, Superman and Lois Radio, Green Lantern Podcast, The Sandman Podcast, DC TV After Dark, and Justice League Dark Podcast.
And since this Supergirl Radio had a big Lena Luthor moments, we have some Lena designs in the DC TV Podcast T Public store that we would love to suggest.
Yeah, if you need some Lena Luthor merch, check out the DC TV Podcast T Public store. We have got a lot of it. So check it out if you are a big Lena Luthor fan. And I should say, as are we. We are big Lena Luthor fans. So so we enjoy it as well. So we have a lot of cool designs in the store, so please give them a look if you would like to support the podcast. And you can support us by joining the Supergirl Radio Patreon as one of our Legion of Super sponsors. So we'd like to thank those folks now: Michael, Anne-Marie, Yvonne, Quinn, Nicola, Abby, Miriam, Nicole, Brian, Ethan, Danny, Majuba, and Lingonberry. Thank you for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. If you'd like to be doing that as well, you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio and become one of our supporters that way. You can also find me on several different places if you want to catch up with me personally. You can find me on Instagram at The Derby Kid. I also have a YouTube channel that I occasionally will put up content for. You can find that at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. I recently recorded a reaction video with some of my thoughts on the official trailer for the upcoming Zack Snyder film Rebel Moon Part 1, Child of Fire. I'm going to be covering some Rebel Moon stuff. Unfortunately, I'm going to be on a cruise for Christmas out in the middle of the ocean. So I will not be able to watch Netflix when Rebel Moon Part 1 comes out. So I'll have to catch it after Christmas when we get back. So I probably won't have any Rebel Moon content until the end of December. But if you want to check out some of the stuff that I'm going to be doing with Rebel Moon, subscribe over there. I've actually also been doing some rebranding for my personal YouTube channel. So a little rethinking of the logo and such. So that is available to you if you want to check me out over there.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mojotastic. And you can also find me as a co-host on the Legendary Ladies podcast. You can find us at the Legendary Ladies on YouTube and Instagram, and at Legends_podcast on Twitter. And this week we are going to be talking about some music. We're going to be talking about the new albums from Renee Rapp and Fletcher. And honestly, I hadn't heard of Fletcher before, so that was
I have no idea who these people are.
A fun discovery. Renee Rapp I mostly know her from the Mindy Kaling show that I think it's called The Sex Lives of College Girls. But it's basically like these 4 girls who are in college, and she's one of the girls, and she's very funny in that. I didn't realize until like pretty late that like, oh, she has a singing career. And then it turns out it's because she played Regina George in Mean Girls on Broadway,
which is becoming a movie. And it's a movie of the musical of the movie.
It sounds like a 30 Rock joke, doesn't it?
It's a 30 Rock joke because you remember season 1 when Jenna was in Mystic Pizza, the musical?
Oh, yes. That's right.
Mystic Pizza was a movie that became a musical, and I think they did a movie of the musical.
Yeah, so it's Mean Girls has found its way doing the full Jenna Mulroney, and Renee Rapp is Regina in the movie version of the Broadway musical based on the movie version of Mean Girls.
I love that Tina Fey made a 30 Rock joke
and then made it happen in real life
with her own original creation.
If you can dream it, you can be it.
When people say that like women aren't funny, I'm like, do you know anything about Tina Fey?
How dare you?
She just made that happen. She's
so funny.
A comedic genius. That just proves a point. Well, I'll have to check out that episode. I mostly exclusively listen to 90s music and maybe early 2000s music. I just kind of like to stay in that like Spin Doctors era, you know.
I do. Every time I watch something that's like set in the 90s, it really takes me back in like a visceral way. And then like I'm like listening to 90s music. I'm like, yeah, put on Aaliyah.
I have no idea what people are doing now in music. I like to stay in that era with Counting Crows and such. So that's kind of my happy place. So I'll have to learn something from the legendary ladies about the new music that's coming out and the ties to Mean Girls. Well, I guess that is going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And stay tuned for the next installment of Secret Hearts.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because of her outfit.
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!